Okay, coming to the first, string operations. Any language will have certain kind of rules when you are doing a strings. In the same fashion, even in Python also the same thing happens. If I start with string ops dot ipynb, means IPython notebook, means the Jupyter notebook. We need to select the kernel, and first it will create a Python shell. But if you want a markdown shell, you click on markdown. Markdown means like we need to have a hashes followed by space. Then it will recognize it like that. It's kind of like syntax. So if you don't know, it's easy to follow. So in Python, there are totally three types of quotes. Sorry, four types of quotes. Single, double, triple, and double quotes. Means you can define any string with a single quotes. Single quotes means like you have some content and you can place within single quotes. So like this also, if you define, it is called as a Python programming and it is of type string only. Or if you define like, in double quotes, that is also string of type string only. And if you define in triple single quotes, means there will be three quotes separated by this thing. So like this also we can do. At the same time, so the lastly we have like triple double quotes. Like this also we can do. So there are other languages also which are supporting three types of braces. Sorry, three types of quotes. But what is uniqueness in Python? So if you take the example of a PowerShell, we can have double quote strings, but double quote strings are formatting strings there. Single quote strings are one way. Like that, every language has some rules. If you say Go language, so single quote strings are called as rules. So like that, there are some rules separately for each of the braces. Whereas in Python, there is no such problem. You take like single, double, triple, or for triple single quotes or triple double quotes, it will treat in the same way. Means logically, it makes no difference. And in which case we need to use what? What is the best practice? In terms of best practice, to understand the importance of quotes and way to use that, we can understand that shortly. To understand the importance of these quotes. So first, let me take a small example. So what we have taken in the top, say like, this Python programming. So generally, uh, Python people says that by default, you should go for single quote. But so whenever you are having something where you have a need, you need to go for a double quote. That's what Python says. When you will have a need for a double quote, let's say one more example. I'm writing a question equal to how are you? This is also a single quote we can write. This works perfectly. But what if I want to define one more string called as whereabout? In this case, did you observe that I use single quotes itself, but will it work? No. What is the reason for it not to work? The reason is that within the string there is a one more single quote. Then what it is thinking from the starting till here only it is thinking like a string, and after that it is not taking it. So if you want to take the other one also, then what is the solution? Python comes with two solutions. One solution is in middle of the thing, you don't want to consider it as a quote, then place a slash. The moment you place as a slash, then it will take it and you're gonna get it. So if you ask, hey, what is this whereabouts and its type, you're gonna get. So it is treated as no more like a quote character, quote operator, but like an ordinary quote character it has taken. This is a good solution. So one of the point that we have learned is that whenever you have any character which you don't want to treat like an any operator, you can place a slash before it. It's not just quote. Down the line, you will see any other character, same logic. Okay, this is good. What if I have one more string? Say like, other string is equal to, say I have content like this. In this case also, it will not work, right? The reason being, there were some quotes. Then whichever things you don't want, you write a slash. So then like one more you have, you write a slash, and one more you have, write a slash. So 3 times you have done, right? Think how many times it is occurring, those many times you are writing. And past that, anyhow, we know these are strings. I don't want to print the types again. Now it printed clearly. But in this problem, how we have addressed, we have placed everything in like this. So what if there were 30, 20? You cannot go to everyone and place a slash. What is the best practice? The best practice is write all the content in a double quotes. If you write in a double quotes, then there is no point, right? Whatever the content is there, it will go like this. So that's the best practice. Okay, sir. Then in which case I need to go for triple quotes? They say that, whenever you have a content where you have double and single quotes within that string, then use triple quotes. If you see in this particular string, I have single quotes within it and also some double quotes. It may not be the correct example, but generally if you go to the awk scripts, whenever you're doing Python automations with like awk scripts means like in Linux, there is one of the scripting languages. So it will have a complex things, syntax most of the time. Whenever I am doing that kind of automations, I used to use these triple quotes. So the point is, whenever you have something, when you're working, so we need to take the other one which is not there. And hope you remember, I showed this Python-C command where you want to do some actions where single, double, even single triple quotes are also there. In that case, you go with the triple double quotes. Means what are the quotes which are there within it? So use a thing which is outside them, such that you can work with any of the things. So till now what we learned is like, if you have the same thing inside, you place a slash, or the best practice is to place like this. So what are the codes you have, you can encompass like this. So no matter what you have, you can do in the same way. If you have a single quotes, we can have a double quote. Within it, you can place a single quote around. And if you have like this, you see, this is a very good example. I have double quotes, which are around a single quotes. So that's why I gave a space and I gave this a single triple quotes. Like that, whatever complex way I have, I can go in that thing. You see? So what is it thinking? So triple quotes, right? I add like one more quote. That's why it got through. So like this, it's gonna work. Fine. So next, going for the next thing in this particular problem is that multi-line strings. What were multi-line strings? And what is the purpose of that? Now you understood about by default, we should use single quotes. Whenever there were things, you should go for double quotes. In other case, the other way, right? So then within these scenarios, I will tell you something. Let's say, let me write a small string. Say print off. So today is good day. To learn Python. So did you see in this case what happened? I wrote a string. So for that I wrote a print for better printing. If you don't want print also, you can ignore. So what's the point here? It threw an error. The reason being, so Python is an interpreter-based language. It will process each line individually. When processing each of the line, at the end of the line, it didn't have a closing quotes. Then it didn't understand what happened. So to understand it better, we have this concept of slash. I told this is called as a line continuation operator. And after this line continuation operator, you should not write anything, including comments. Then did you see what happened? It tells to the interpreter that, hey, don't process this line individually. Take the next line also along with it and do it. So it has taken the next part also. See, including the white space, you got it. So if you have a single quoted content, which is multiple lines, then you need to write like this. Even if you have like double quotes also, you need to do in the same fashion. If you do like this, it's going to throw error. But if you have a slash, then it will work. So for ordinary single and double quote strings, if you want to go to multiple lines, you need to write like this. Whereas if you do the same thing for a triple quoted content, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So for the triple quoted content, if you place a slash, it will take it. If you don't place also, it's gonna take. You see the difference? When you don't place also, it will take. And in same line, even triple double quotes also will work in the same fashion. Now you understood? Triple double quotes also works in the same fashion. If you write a slash, then it will take the next line also like that in the same line. If you don't place it, it will treat it like a new line and comes to the things. Now, hope you understood the difference. Whenever you're going for a multiple lines, so triple quoted strings are useful. So now next note is that triple quote strings are multi-line strings. Whenever you need something, you can make use of it. So what is the practical usage of it? I generally write my SQL commands like this. I generally write the SQL commands in multiple lines. So whenever I work on SQL, I generally write like this. So select star from, say, from, generally we write like this, right? SQL star from table 1, say left join, say table 2, something. I'm writing like T1, T2, T1.id is equal to T2.id. Some generic use case. So if I do like, order by T1.id, something. You see, in this case, I have a string which is multiple lines. So how we can better represent? So this is the best way. If I say now print the SQL command, it is printing in much better way, right? So that is how we use like single and double triple quotes. And one more gotcha to remember before I dropping here is that if I have like a SQL command, the most common problem what people does I will tell. If you have a SQL command, so this is another SQL command, right? SQL command I have. So SQL command to assume error. Select star from my table where Python is equal, so column is equal to Python, column 2 is equal to Django. Did you see here what's the problem? In this particular string, we have single quotes and double quotes also, right? So that's the reason it's going to throw in error. To avoid this problem, what is the solution that we generally do? Hey, this we already seen. So instead of doing like this, what we can do better is taking the entire content and placing in a double quotes. But still, in double quotes also we got an error. What is this error about? This is the most common error, I would say. The reason is very simple. Did you observe that in this particular string, there is no white space in the middle? If I just add one white space and if I run it, so still it is saying because, hey, you have a double quotes within it and I also have a double quotes within it. So the point is the entire content need to be stored in something else which is not there. You see, now I stored the entire content in a different brace, so it works. And that's the reason. So, and one best practice is to add a semicolon at the end. The reason I will tell why we need to add a semicolon means, say, if I store this content, say in a single quotes, okay? Even what if this content they have given in like a single quotes, Django, so they can give like this also, right? It doesn't mean the internal content should be like this. If I do like this, then also it will throw in error. Though you have placed everything in triple quotes, did you see there is no white space in middle? If there is a space, then it will understand. Observe very carefully whenever you're using single quotes. That's the reason they say that best practice to write a semicolon at the end. Then no problem will come. Okay. So if I execute, now it will work. So with this, I want to stop.
You understood about now how the string operations are working, mainly the string codes. And in the strings, the next important thing is about how to access the characters. and how to work on it. First, if you want to uniquely recognize something, so we need to understand this concept of string indexing. In the string operations, the very first thing is about string indexing. How to do the string indexing? And what is indexing? You see, this is how I place any headings. And there is one shortcut. If you want to convert a Python block to a markdown, you can use a escape key followed by M. And if I do escape and M together, then it can convert to a markdown. So that is another way. And similarly, like, so escape and C means it will convert like the other side. And now coming to the case of string indexing. What do you mean by indexing? Why we need it? If you have a house and if you can uniquely recognize every room and everything, then you will know what to do with that. In the same fashion, if there was an apartments, every house, if they can identify individually, if there's a problem also, they can address to that flat, we need to do something or anything. The same thing works even for the strings also. If I take the previous string, what we have defined, say the same thing. So I use the same word because it's easy and it's a known word. So we can do language equal to Python programming. And in this, if you want to know the total number of characters present, till now we worked on integers. For integers, we cannot say like how many characters. It makes no sense. So whereas here we can say how many digits, how many characters. For that, there is a built-in function called as len, Len. So this length built-in function will not work on all the functions. So till now, you have used some of the built-in functions. If you can count, in the first chapter, we have learned about the built-in functions. In those built-in functions, 71, we are slowly learning one after the other. Till now, what are the built-in functions you learned? str, you learned repr, or str, so power built-in function, so type built-in function. And you have seen till now that most of the built-in functions we have applied on almost all. But only when you are doing the string operations, we understood that, when you're converting everything, we cannot convert to string, right? Like that, certain things you understood. Now you understood that all these built-in functions cannot be applied on every data type and also in every scenario. There were some limitations. Like that, you can notice here that length is a built-in function which can be applicable on all the iterables only. Iterables means any function, so any object on which we can support for loop. So this is the new terminology you are using for the first time. Python supports this kind of iterations on the strings, but not the integers. We cannot loop over each of the integer and say that get one digit at a time, right? But whereas on a string, we can get. So how to get that and everything, I will tell shortly. So part of it, there is something called as the indexing. What do you mean by indexing? You have this word called as Python programming. Let's take the same example. In this, the first word is like Python, next is programming. And generally, how Python recognizes this string is that what are the string it give, it will index it like 0th position, 2nd position, like that. So in terms of positions, we have something like this. So for the Python programming, we can have indexes of two types. One is the forward indexing. So indexing starts with 0. Most of the languages, except languages like Fortran and MATLAB, in my career, I have seen almost all languages are supporting indexing starting from 0. As the index starts from 0, everything we will have subsequently in that direction. So totally, if there are like 18 characters, as it's starting from 0, it will go till 18 minus 1, means length of the string minus 1, which is 17, because it is starting from 0. Whereas reverse indexing means, so starting from minus 1. You may ask me why they are did from minus 1 instead of minus 0, because 0 has no sign, right? Whether you call positive or negative, 0 is 0. So that's the reason they started from minus 1. So as it started from minus 1 from the right side, it will go till length of the string, minus length of the string. This is called as indexing. And here, one interesting point you can see is that Even a white space within it is also having one character position, because white space is also one character, right? And make a note of this one point every time. This is the most important thing. Indexing starts from 0. So make a note of this point every time. So what will happen, sir? What is the point of going with this? Now, as we have some things like this, if I use the word, say, language, I can get the entire word. Whereas against this language, I use another braces, square braces. In Python, every braces has some importance. If I take like, the square braces, it has some importance. If I use a parenthesis, it has some other importance. Generally, this parenthesis we use whenever you're making a function call for a thing. But in this case, when you are doing indexing, generally, not only that, so down the line, you will see other data types also. Indexing every time works with square braces only. And in the square braces, we need to mention something. If I mention like 0 right now, instead of getting the entire Python, did you see that I got P individually? Or if I mention like, say, language of, say, some 8. So what is the 8th character? I got R, exactly. So whichever the character individually you can ask and get their values. And similarly, to call you back, what if I read something like this in one lines to help you understand? I'm asking the 14th character, 6th character, 17th. Randomly, I'm asking all the characters. So which are is those values? I'm getting those values. And observe clearly. So what is the value at 6th position? White space. So though it is printing, we cannot see that because it's a white space. But that is also a character. And if you want to check whether it is equal to or not, I can check whether it is correct or not means. So don't you remember that we have seen an operator called as 2 equals? These 2 equals will tell you that whether something is equal to the other or not. So when I compared like this, don't you understand that both are equal? Okay, now you understood this point also. Next, what if I go for something which is beyond these numbers? For your understanding, I will bring this index again down. Every time we bring down so that it's easy for us to remember, right? So in this case, I want to go for something which is beyond it. Say like for the same language, I am giving a number which is outside it, say 18. Is a number called as 18 present? No. If you give something out of those bounds, then it will throw a index error. Similarly, so one more point you need to learn. So this is one of the interview questions which was asked most of the time. So 70% of the time people answered wrong. What is the value of language of -0? If they ask -0, don't tell that the last character, because 0 don't have an index. Sorry, 0 don't have a sign, right? So whether you give 0, positive or negative, it will give the same value. So that's the reason you get the same answer. So be careful about this point. Next, similarly, you understood about these positive indices. And how about the negative indices? Again, to go through it, let me pull this content and place it down. Yeah, so that we can just see more. Okay, here also we can see, right? Fine. So till now you understood. And negative indices is also fine. But you need to understand one point, that in Python, there is nothing like a negative index, to be precise. So then why negative indices were introduced? Not only in Python, any language don't have this concept of negative indexes at all. In Python, what happens is like, to make the things easy for any person to work, whenever you are working with the last values, say you want to get the last 3rd character, last 5th character, you can get 2 ways. So means if you want -3 also, you get the last 3rd character. Or if you say language of length of this language -3 also, you get the same thing. Observe carefully. If I do language of -3 also, I get the same one. Language of length of language -3, also I get the same thing. Means when you are doing a negative index, indirectly Python will do the same thing as highlighted. That's the reason negative indexes will be slightly slow compared to positive, because there is no true index. It's a virtual index. So, okay, but it will help you when you're working with so the last values. And also one more point before we going to this negative indexes further, one more point I want to mention as we came to the negative indexes is that, for a given position, we can have both positive and negative indices also, right? If you see, if you give 0 or minus 18, you should get the same thing. If I give like, so 10 or minus 8, I should get the same thing. Like that. So I can, in fact, compare the two. You see, if I give minus 18 or 0, I got the same value. And also, not only this, in the negative direction also, I have values from 18, minus 18 onwards. What if I give like minus 19? Then also it will throw an error. If you give any value beyond their bounds, it will throw an error. If I say minus 18, it will work. If I say minus 19, it will throw an error. So this is what you need to know. So one conclusion I want to draw here is that when you are working on any string with a length of n, we can index values from minus n till n minus 1. If you go beyond that, it will throw an index error. In the same fashion, so within these bounds also, you cannot give a floating point values. Though 0.0 is technically 0 itself, but you cannot give like that. So this is all you can learn about indexes. Indexing means what? Individually identifying each position. That is indexing. Based upon this indexing, we can do the next thing called as string slicing. This is the most important point. The same rules of slicing, what you are learning now, will apply for the other data types down the line. If I start with this, first, what is this string slicing? To understand, if you want to slice something, first you need to index it. Just imagine, if you have like, there are like, so an apartment, in an apartment, there were like 10 floors. So first, if they recognize like there are 10 floors, then they say that, okay, first 3 floors for like first year students, next 3 floors for second year students, like that they can compartmentalize, right? Means if they individually identify each of the blocks, they can take a group of blocks to do something. That kind of grouping is called as slicing. Again, taking the same example as we understood about this string, we can work with any string for that matter. As I worked on this string and it's easy, I'm doing the same. That's it. So till now, we have understood that if I define a string with this, and I can just walk through it. So how I am doing? If I define like, language, it will say language. But if I ask the 0th character, it will give the 0th value. Till now, this is concept of indexing. Now, whereas if you are going for the concept of slicing, that is very interesting. In the concept of slicing, we need to understand that. So for indexing, we pass like, string followed by brace and you give the index, right? Whereas for slicing, you need to give like, the string followed by the start and final index. So like this, you need to give. That's the difference between the indexing and slicing. So how I work, I will tell. So till now you gave language of 0, that's fine. Similarly, now if I say language of 0 colon 18, say 17 if I give, you can notice that you're getting the entire Python programming. Means individually it will give any characters from one position to the another. So or else if I give say 0 to some 8, it will give some values. Means it is coming from the starting till end. And here one interesting point you need to understand. So in Python, not only here, down the line you will see a lot of boundary issues. When you are understanding the boundaries, the most important point you need to understand is this one. It doesn't include the last value. So in any boundary condition. So here we are doing a slicing. Means what? From this position till this position. Means you are mentioning a boundary, right? So whenever you do like this, it will every time go from the starting value till the final value, but doesn't include final. And if you observe carefully, from the 0th position, it is going till 17th position. Did you see that the 17th position is G, right? Did you see that G is missing here? Similarly, if I go for 0 to 8, so did you see that from 0, it's going till 8? Did you see that R is missing here? So means it will go till the last value, but doesn't include the last value. So that's the point of going for slicing. If I go again, so to this, you will understand that the same thing. You see, the same examples are repeated. It will go till the last value, but doesn't include the last value. So in the first one, the 11th position is R, which is not present in the output. In the second one, it is starting from 5 onwards. Everything will be there. But final index is 17. That's the reason G is missing. So it will go everywhere, but the last position will not be in place. And similarly, for a small question, what if I want to the word called as Python? What should be the indices for slicing? Should I mention 0 to 4 or 0 to 5 or 0 to 6? Yes. If I mention 0 to 4, what will I get? It will go till the 4th value, but doesn't include 4, right? Yes or no? So if you see in this example, you will notice, if I give 0 to 4, even 4th also will not come. If I do 0 to 5, I'm gonna get like this. If I say 0 to 6, then it will include even 6. So it will go till 6, but doesn't include 6. Our intention is to get till Python. So that's the reason we should go 0 to 6. Till how much you want, you need to add one more to it. Whereas this is interesting that you understood. There is one more point. Till now, you know this concept of indexing, right? If you go and ask anything beyond the indices, it will throw an error. Say like if I say language of, say, it is having till 18. If I ask like, so till 17 it has. If I ask 18, it will throw an error. We know this point. Whereas, if I do the same thing in the other way, if I say like this, you see here, in this case, I am doing 7 till 18. 7 till 18. If you observe this, maybe like I'll bring this down for your understanding. You'll understand. Yeah, in the next line I will do. You see now? So 7 to 18 I'm doing. So though there is no 18th character, it didn't throw in error. Because we thought like, it will go till the last value, doesn't include. Whereas in the second case, did you notice that it is going from 7 till 999? Did you see that there is no 999? So when it don't have value till 999, it will give value till what it has. Similarly, in the third case, if you see 45 to 87, means nothing is in your index. So the difference that you need to understand is indexing will throw in error if a particular position that you are asking has no character. Whereas slicing will not throw any error. If you have a values within the boundary, it will give. If not, it will ask. So this is how it works. Next, one last point when you're working here in the slicing is about, till now for the slicing, I told two attributes. One is the starting index and the final index, right? In addition to this, we need to follow one more thing slightly. If you can enhance, it's called as slicing will generally take 3 arguments. But till now we didn't give means it is taking the third argument as default. What is this concept of default means? When you don't pass, it will do automatically in the backend. So how it works, and if I can make a difference, you will understand like this. So if I give like 7 to 18 or 7 to 18 with a step of 1, both are same. And how it is computing this logic in the backend means it's a simple math. As we people know math, it's very easy for us to digest. First, if you give a position indexes, first it will generate indices from it And in the next step, in those indices, if the values are there, it will give. If not, it will give empty. So first, if I give 7 to 18, means I am starting from 7 with a step of 1 till 18. Means 7, 7 plus 1, 8, plus 1, 9, plus 1, 10, plus 1, 11, plus 1, 12, plus 1, 13, plus 1, 14, plus 1, 15, plus 1, 16, plus 1, 17, and plus 1, 18, right? I told, right, it will go till the last value, but doesn't include the last value. So it will stop here. So after generating these numbers, it tries to go and check for the characters at these positions. As it has the characters at these positions, from 7 till 17, you got Python programming. Hope you understood. The same rules of this works. And if I'm gonna give one more example, now I think you need to help me better. So if I go for this one, now tell me 7 to 18 with a step of 3 means from 7, 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 3 is 13, plus 3 is 16, plus 3 is 19, means which is beyond the bound. So it will take only these 4 characters and give. As it has only 4 characters, you got the answer. And similarly, if I go for something like this, say, when I'm giving also, I should give in a justifiable way. If I go 7 to 18 with a step of -1, +1 means till now 7 plus 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9, like that. If I do -1, 7 minus 1 is 6. So obviously nothing will be within the values, right? So what are the numbers you are generating should be present within this lower and upper bounds. Only then you will get. If there is nothing within that, then you get nothing. So that's what you should be careful about. And in the same lines, so one more thing is going to happen. So when you are working in a reverse direction, say, what if I wrote something like this? Hey, 17 to 7 with a step of -1. So if I take back these things for better understanding, I think like you will not understand if I make it big. Yeah. So you see here, from 17, you are going till 7 with a step of -1. Now this is valid. This is possible. You get the characters from it. So if I go here and ask, hey, can you give me the values? So it will generate all the values from say 17 till this. So 17 and in a reverse direction from 17. So how it works? If I say 17, 17 minus 1 is what? 16, minus 1, 15, minus 1, 14, minus 1, 13, minus 1, 12, minus 1, 11, minus 1, 10, 9, 8. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it will go till 7, but doesn't include 7. So that's why you got the same thing in a reverse direction, right? So this is what you understood. In the same fashion, so if I go further, say like if I am asking something which is not present, say what if I am asking something like 23 to 7 with a step of -3. So 23 is not there at all. I'm having values from 17 onwards, right? So though I give a values which are beyond this limit, so it will generate something like this. So though it will generate the values, and finally it will give the values within it. Means though you try to ask the values from 23 onwards, to be frank, in the backend it has values like this. So till 16 you don't have a value, right? So from 23 you were asking, but you have values from 17 only. So that's the reason. How much difference is first value -6? So first it will generate the sequence of the numbers, and in that it will multiply, subtract with the 7. So from after the values, how many it has, it will bring only them. So see here, like that you got GMRR. So if you focus more on like, this slicings, this is how it works. So now you understood. Now the last leg in this slicing is about the defaults. So till now you have seen defaults where the default step, that's the only thing that you saw as default. There will be 3 things. Now, sir, will you introduce a 4th attribute? No, there will be 3 only. So now I will tell all the defaults in one shot. So there will be 3 attributes like starting index, final index, and step. But if you don't give any of them, so till now we don't know only step. but we can optionally give even these two also. If you don't give them, they also will be defaults. Then how it gonna work? Means if you ask for the values like this, 0 to 7 with a step of 1 if you give, or you just give a colon, means before that you don't give any value, just give a colon, means that so you didn't give the starting index. Whatever you have given is the step, means you gave like this one. So default start index will happen colon 7 and the default step. Now tell me what will be the values, as you didn't give these values. So it will be equal to, so default starting index is what I wrote in the top, which is 0. So default final step is like +1. So don't you see you got the same values? So that's the reason if you generate in both the directions also, you get the same things. So this is how it will work. Hope it's clear. Any doubt till now? Next, going further. After this, there is the next thing that you will learn is about in these operations. What if I don't give some of the things, values? What if I give something like, 0, just 0 column? Means I'm mentioning the 0th value. So means if you write some number and write a colon afterwards, means like you gave the starting value. If you give the colon and followed by the number, it means what are you given is the so final value. So then it will work like this. So the remaining two will be taken as defaults. Then in what case the step will be taken, sir? If you take the first and second values like this. So to understand that, we have like one more syntax. It can take a colon. If you just give a colon, means like all were defaults. Or if you give two columns also, all were defaults. When you're two columns, if you're giving, you are telling that even the step is also default. Of course, whether you define or not, it makes no difference. But so I will tell you a short difference. When you want to mention the last value, if you just give a one column, it will do like that, right? So if I give like a two columns, then it will treat like the step. The first two values will be defaults. The first starting value will be 0. Final index would be length of the string. It's not the -1, length of the string. So you get like this. Similarly, yeah, as I told you, if I do the same thing with a single column, things gonna change. If I take like a single column, you are mentioning it as like the next. So here also like till 3. So the steps would be like +1. So in both the cases. Oh, sorry. Here we need to change also, right? That is just a string. Yeah. Yes. Hope you understood the difference between. This is the default step, and this is where what you have given as the final index. And in these slicings, one last point I want to mention is there were defaults, but there is one very unique case where when the step is negative and the starting and final index were not given, then the start and final index values will be different. What is this concept, sir? It's very simple to understand. If you have till now like so +1, just assume that you have something like this. What will happen if you're asking? You get like every character. Okay, if you do like 2 or some 3, I get like every third character. The remainings will be defaults, right? Till now we know that. Whereas if you do the same thing slightly differently, means if I do the same thing like say -1, means the first two values were defaults, you didn't mention, but the step is negative. The moment you mention like that, then the starting index will be length of the string -1 and the final is so and so. Means if you do like a ordinary colon colon 1, you get like the starting till end everything. Whereas if you do the same thing colon colon minus 1, you get the values in a reverse direction. This is called as a string reversal. Just imagine in Python, in just one line, you wrote string reversal. If you need to do the same thing in a C language, how many lines of for loop you need to do and how to do? So that's the reason people are coming more crazily towards Python. So in the same lines, you can work with a colon colon minus 3 also, or like anything for that matter. So when this kind of edge case will come, when the step is negative and the starting and final indices were not given, then in that case it will go. So it will start the values like this. So fine. Hope it's clear. And similarly, if I go for like colon colon, say -5, every fifth character I'm gonna get. Sir, what if I give something else? Means like starting value I gave like a 4. If I give starting value as 4, so we should not, something, okay. If I mention like a starting value as 4, then in this case, what will happen? Will it work like this? Did you see what I got? Just woo. Generally, it's a bad practice to combine like, positive and negative. You will be confused. That's the reason. But did you see in this case what happened? It is doing not a string reversal. So, forward indexing only. Forward indexing it is doing. So how it is works? From 4. So what is the values? From 4 till 18 with a step of -5. Then how you will get? Because it is going in a forward direction, right? So that's how it works. So you got something like that. So, and like, if you take any example for that matter, you can work in the same ways. So, yeah, yes. And one more, the practical example of going with these things is that going for a palindrome check. If I take that as an example, say B, let me take like a py file. Py file means Python script, right? So how to write a typical Python script? I think we are doing for quite some time. The shebang line, which is not mandatory, but if you add, it would be best. And in the next line, we want to write some documentation. For that, we write a docstrings, right? Within docstrings, we mention what we want to do. So we write a purpose and say about it. So we want to say what is a palindrome numbers. Palindrome string, sorry. Palindrome string means what? Any string where if you reverse that also you get the same word. That is called this thing. And if you want to do like, how I do any program, when I don't know how to write coding, first I need to write in English. So first I want to demonstrate these values. Then how I need to do? I cannot just define a variable and do it, right? I need to get the values in runtime and assign to that. So take the, string in a runtime and store that variable, right? So first, how to get the variable in runtime? We can use a, string like this. And input is a built-in function. So for input, we need to pass some string such that whatever you do, it will display that. And how to execute this program? There are multiple ways. So if I can go for this terminal, that's the best way. So if I create a new terminal, I need to navigate. So why my terminal is coming in the right side? I showed that option also to you. So if you go here to the view, there is something called as appearance. In the appearance, we have like panel position. If you want in the right, you can mention that. By default, it will be bottom. So coming here. So now I need to navigate to the directory where these files are there. In Windows, we use dir. In Linux, we use ls. If I use ls, I will get the list of files where we am. I need to go to this directory called as b0b, right? And within that, where my file is in string operations. So I need to go to. So generally, if you do a list, you get the values. And if you want a CD, you need not give the entire thing. You give some starting so that it would be unique. That's it. And give a tab. That's it. It will give. Now we are in it. If I do a ls, did you see my file is present here? So now I can run. Before even running, I can clear the screen using clear command. In Windows, it is CLS. In Linux, it is a clear. And then I do a Python be so and so. Now, whatever you have written within the codes, the same thing is coming. If I do like that, so I am getting like whatever you have given. Now, after getting it, what is the next step you want to do? So in the next step, get the string reversal. So then, like, step 3, equate and compare them. So how do you get the string reversal? Reverse string. How to get a reverse string of the test string? You take it and you do like this, right?